Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Yellow Zikro program on UNC USA. I have with me here Mr. Ved Ram. We also have our civil engineer Ken Dalchin and our doctor from Venezuela, our doctor and scientist, Mr. Dr. Parul Maraj. And we want to jump right into it, Ved. The discussion today, based on Minister of Health, Dr. Lakram Budu, outlining the cost factor involved with the level of damages done to equipment by the not being in use and the negligence there. So, there's quite a bit of expense to the country. There was a major inconvenience to the population with the refusal to open that hospital. And I got my friend here, Mr. Suman Singh, joining us now. So we just
Eh,
want to cover those discussion in that the country better understands the cost factor and the damages they are done to the country with that. So Mr. Sriram, I know you can give us
Yes.
a good explanation with that.
Well, I'm glad Dr. Bodo raised that as an issue because I would consider it criminal negligence. For we have not been given a major reason why they never opened. But let's assume one of the reason was that they didn't have the money. Let's assume that. So you can have a cause for not opening because it may require additional expenditure, etc. But there's no reason, absolutely no reason for not protecting the assets that we have. And when you look at the parallel, the question of the criminal negligence, the parallel is with the Petrotrin refinery because both projects, one was not opened. They have to answer why. With regards to Petrotrin, they have to still have to answer why they closed it down. And I think speculation is rife that it was not an economic reason, but rather political. So those two things go hand in hand. And I believe a commission of inquiry should be set up. I think the first program we discussed is a commission of inquiry should be set up for two reasons. One, to find out the truth. And if criminal negligence is involved, um, those who committed the crime should be prosecuted. And the other reason is that given for future ministers and government, that will be, I think, a very important lesson to be very, very careful how you handle the assets of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago.
There is, as far as I see, right? There seems to be major cost not only in the financial end, but in the matter of lives. To our citizens. I'm sure that because of the lack of those use of medical equipment, the lack of the hospital has cost us dearly in the aspect of human lives. Because a lot of citizens have to travel outside the country, and most of them cannot afford. And we definitely need to work towards where that hospital is fully functional, fully equipped, and can service the needs of our citizens.
No, but that's where the several dimensions of the inquiry should take place. What you are saying is so true. What was the economic impact is one. What was the social impact? What was the impact with regard to delivery of health services and all of that now can be identified and as best we can identify the dollar value of those things. So I think it's something that should be done because what we are seeing is that people have been getting away with murder and we just accept it and we move on and move on. And it doesn't make sense as a society because if we catch somebody stealing a mango, that's front page, that's front page.
Right,
So
right. Well, you see,
I think,
if we look around, based on we see now, our government here now is really exposing a lot of things that the population. I want the population to understand the level of damages that the PNM has caused the country and the major inconvenience before they jump to conclusion on the throat of this prime minister, and that they must recognize the fact what has been done to them and how much it has cost the country. Every time you spin around, the PNM has either caused somebody to sue us, there's caused major inconvenience to our citizens and money wasted. We never got value for money. In this, in under their management, and citizens must not allow them to come back into government. Mr. Singh, jump in whenever you're ready. Dr. Param, anybody, go ahead.
Where, if I may say something, it just crossed
Kenny,
my
you need
mind.
to fix your camera. We're not seeing you.
Yeah,
Lower, yeah, lower,
yes,
lower. Yeah, that's
yeah,
better. Yeah, go ahead.
right. Where, if I may say something,
Yes, Ken.
now what you're speaking to there is basically a transition from one political party to the next, right? One loses, the other comes in. Should we have some kind of transition act with an emphasis on projects, ongoing projects? So this
Right.
way, if someone comes in, they are bounded by that transition act to now continue the existing or ongoing project or projects. And if they fail to do that, then according to the act, they are held liable without a reasonable, excuse, right, as to why they stop or why they allocate funds away from the project. If we
Well,
have that in law, right, as a transition act that we
yeah,
draft,
yeah,
we will be
Ken.
all
I
bound by.
Yeah, Ken.
I
I thought through that. Sorry, go ahead.
I have been advocating for that since day one. For example, because that's what's called the Singapore model. And in Singapore, regardless of whichever government comes into power, they have to continue on with the project started from the previous government, because in the beginning, both parties or all the parties agreed this is the path for national development. So let's say you're doing a road infrastructure network like the proposed one on the coastline coming down to Sando. But regardless of any government come, you have to continue that project. And you better show good reasons why you don't complete, it, because there will be a timeline that if the project's supposed to finish in 8 years and one party loses after 5 years, that means you have 3 years to complete it. That is the new government. And they better complete it, else you know what happens. This is the thing. So it has to be parted in legislation that any development, a port development project, for example, a hospital development project, and so on, must be continued. These are infrastructural assets for the country. It's not, it doesn't belong to one party or the other party. So,
Yeah. Could I add to that? Because you see, what could also happen is that, let's say, a bad project was approved by a government that had the majority, and there was vociferous objection to that particular project by the opposition party in parliament. What I believe, I think it's a good idea that we need to have some form of legislation with regards to continuity, but a precondition of that is that there must be a joint, that's between the opposition and the government, approval to a national development project. In other words,
yes,
they have to
yes,
be, both parties must agree before
agree.
it is started, and
Yes,
and that
yes,
that party uh, should be advised, maybe a joint committee among both parties and so on, but to be advised by professionals in the field as to the economic benefit, etc., etc. Like building a bridge, we can always work out the economic, social, etc. benefit to the country. And I think, Suman, if Ken, if we agree, those are they're classified separately as a national project, then there must be continuity.
Yes, correct.
yeah. And not
And
only that, that national development plan of action has to be agreed with correctly. I forgot to mention that has to be
Okay.
agreed by all the parties, all the stakeholders, all the active, all. It must be broad consensus that this is the path for national development. It's not majority party wins, and no. That's recipe for bubble all along.
Yes, that's correct, Sumant. So we should look at it maybe as a transition act, something like that, right? Where it
Yes,
picks up transition, not just projects, but transition as
yes,
a whole, right?
yes.
So national projects will be a subhead of a bunch of subheads, right? Where we ensure a smooth transition. So we don't have this conflicts and gray areas where people just leave things unattended to abandon and neglected, etc. Because the people of Trinidad and Tobago will be losing millions of dollars, which we don't have, right?
Now,
So
Ken, if I
yeah,
may interject there is one area that will cause a lot of problem is that in the area of state boards. At, is either that transition has to be like in the U.S. Today, low selection, bam, all boards change, all the high positions change automatically.
so
Example,
mhm.
when they won PNM won the election in 2015, Chicago's Borough Council was cleared right away the very next day. What was cleared the very next day? Hey, we in power now. You're going to need to pack your desk and go home.
Right,
But
I hear you, Samad.
here is it up to what day I spoke. Friday, I spoke to a CEO, and she said her board is still a PNM board.
Mm.
That is how can a PNM board, how can you be expected to carry out the agenda of this government? So you'll find a lot of pushback. Is either you clear all state directors, state boards, and everything,
Well,
and we
maybe
put that
Samad.
in the legislation as well, because
Right, correct.
on the certain regimes do appoint new boards in the fifth year of governance. So in the fifth year of the PNM regime, for example, they will appoint a new board for 3 years, which means 3 years into the UNC in office, they can't do anything because that new board has just been appointed just before the election. So you
So
see, it has to be some strong legislation to either say, hey, you know what? All our national development policies have to be continued. All members of state boards must resign with immediate effect, and like that, because it will create what's going on right now. For example, PNM boards still in state corporations. They still exist there.
right, so
Mhm.
Samad, under the Transition Act, all of those fine nitty gritty stuff will be highlighted and captured there under our head. For example, state board. One board, the old board or the existing board will have to brief and transition, right? The new board incoming as to what they were doing, what they were up to, right? So that they will now take it over. And they are briefed on what's happening and they're up to date with the business, with the new business and old business. So I think that law or that what we mentioned here, the Transition Act, right, should be broad, should cover state boards, should cover anything involving transition with an emphasis in the political change.
Yes.
Wade?
Yeah, I mean, I've been on boards where they change, and I can tell you at that point in time, management really is in control
Yeah.
because you change the board did not have time to read all the previous minutes and so on, and they're just being briefed by management. And if you are not alert, all kinds of things could pass through. You have to be very alert,
Exactly.
Definitely,
very
exactly.
alert. The one board, we just came on the first meeting. They want us sign up now, approving an investment on a religious bank, and I objected to it. I said, no, this is a state enterprise. You can't do that. We should not get involved in associating with any particular religion. Suppose the other religion came and said, look, we want to open a bank too. And
Mhm.
you have to be very, very alert. So that is why I think it's good to have young board members, but you must have the experienced uh, members in place on day one. On day one,
Correct.
and
Correct.
then one
Yeah.
of the exercise, Sumant, you all are senior and gone through a lot. You have to ask what are the policies governing this institution, where the policies are. We need to see all the policies.
That's a big problem right now. I don't want to call the agency, but a
Yeah.
very popular agency right now that is happening because I've been in about 3-4 boards already, and I can tell you exactly the way what is in that policy framework, that governance framework, and that legislative framework. They are all lagging, and now in the present scenario, because, and I keep on, this is why I say all the systems have been deliberately broken to
Rotten,
facilitate,
rotten, not broken. Rotten
to
and stink.
facilitate, or that has facilitated the PM to do what they did. And you know what the hurtful thing is? These bitches going to get away with it, this shit. They're going to get away because the
Mhm.
systems are broken. There is no accountability. You don't, but the thing is so massive, the corruption is so massive.
Did
That
you see did you see Vandana speaking today in
yeah,
reference
yeah,
to
yeah.
okay, good, good. Everybody
I
must go. She talking with language. Go ahead.
and that is a classic case. What I'm saying, Gary, it is in another area as well. The CEO told me this Friday gone that it's a P&M board, and she's been trying. She's like the Lone Ranger in it, and they're putting pressure on her. They're putting pressure on her. So you see, our own is getting really flied in all of this. What one and Dana is saying that the entire board of the Children's Authority, how much, $70 million?
Sumant, can we trust with based on what we see happening under that children authority, where children was abused, children was neglected. I mean, there's so many things. You can't even trust the under the present structure, you can't trust them to take care of anybody, children.
Nicely.
Mm.
Well
Okay?
said.
So
Well
all
said.
man had to go. Clean house. You damn right. Go ahead.
One of the things she was mentioning is that they purchased a freezer for $350 something thousand dollars, and she was querying what is the need of having such an expensive freezer, albeit one with a cost of $350 or $353,000.
What is
And
it? An ice box? A big ice box, or what is this?
that's a, freezer,
A freezer
this,
room?
yeah,
Oh man.
you know.
All right.
So
I want to make a little comment there on that. Okay, medical equipment is expensive, yes, very expensive, but that's for 31 million TT dollars. That's almost, let's say, 5 or 6 million, let's say 4 million US dollars. What equipment is that is so expensive? Because I know the very most expensive one is cost 1,200,000, which is an MR.
MRI machine, yes.
That's the
MRI
most expensive one that I know, right? Let's say $2 million, which is let's say 10 or 12,000 dollars, which is a very exaggerated price, right? Here in Venezuela, we have installed in the public
1 second,
places.
guy. Welcome, Dr. Stephen Rambo. In the kind of conversation we need him here. Go ahead, Doc.
Hi guys. Good
Yeah,
evening.
Good
hi,
evening,
good
Dr.
evening.
Rambo.
Good night,
Yeah, good evening.
good
Continue.
evening.
I'm listening.
Right. These equipments, we purchased them from the US and at a very high, how you say, a big order. It came down to 800,000 to, it ranged from 600,000 to 800,000 maximum with installation and with all extra, how you say, the package, con instalación y todo.
training
With
and warranties and whatever.
installation and training for personnel to manage this equipment. So I don't know why, or it shows that it's an exaggerated cost, over cost, more than 100% of the cost of the of equipment. No, now when you do a children hospital is something that is very how you say sagrado, holy or sacred. Here in Venezuela, we have one of the best hospitals in the whole Latin American and Caribbean, which is the Children's Hospital of Cardiovascular, no? Hospital de Cardiovascular in Caracas, right? Uh, for children where all this service is for the citizens, which are free. And cardiovascular, um, oh man, my mouth is sticking up with this Spanish. All right, cardiovascular treatment or operations is necessary and it's very, very, very expensive. Here it is for free. Now, there in that hospital there in Caracas, there are equipments, and there is no political, how you say, intervention in that. But any government that gets in power, or any political party, or when I say political party, who may be change the mayor or the alcalde or governor of of that area where the hospital is, he have the obligation and continue with that project, right? Any project that is benefit of the population of the country has to continue whichever political party is there, right? So this overcost on equipment, that shows clearly that someone was making is or made money on the needs of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, right? And it's not that expensive to open an hospital. The infrastructure is not so expensive, and it is not very difficult, or when there is need in a population for certain services in health, it's not difficult. The state has all ways or all mechanisms to get personnel. I don't see why the hospital, what they say they cannot open, right? But when the other political party open the hospital, it had everything. When you get in now, it don't have anything. You make justification. So there is no justification, and leaving the hospital closed on for a long time. That has closed for how long? 10 years, no, or more,
Mhm.
right? So these projects must not be left out at all. So someone is spitefully spiteful intention, use a spiteful intention on oh man, excuse me fellas, my English, all right, spiteful intention on doing damages to the population,
Mhm.
or trying to say the other political party that project is not good, whether it's the PNM or UNC or whatever, a project that is benefit any one of them, they leave, they have to continue. That is an obligation. That is a law here. I think it's an international law. Look at Dubai. Look at this Asiatic country, China as well. They continue all projects, and they focus in infrastructure, in health, education, and building infrastructure. Right. So there's no need to close the hospital down. And these damages, as Mr. Suman said, they will get away. They will get away. I hope not. They will not get away with it. But let's focus now in improving and opening the hospital 100%. Now, when you have a member board, when you have, look, but when I become a manager in the oil field, I had people who was against, who didn't want the certain projects to go out because of their convenience. They wanted the contract for themselves. When I say for themselves, for their friends. So, and then they continue time and make time run and these things like that. So I see, well, if you want for your friend, they have to compare. They have to complete the contract. No, they don't want that. They want to continue and make the contract run long, and it's more expensive. So what I did, I transfer every one of them. Everyone. They threaten me. They try to sabotage the work. I say, well, if you threaten me, you get fired, right? So they threaten me. I fire them. I fired a few of them. They put me in court. I say, well, the project will continue. You put me in court. It takes 3 years, and then after you lose the how you say, your case, because it showed clearly that you were jeopardizing, right? So these people who are against the government, you cannot trust them. You cannot trust them anyhow you take it. You cannot trust them. They will not obey to have improvement. They have to be removed immediately. You cannot feel sorry. Look at look at simple martial arts. Your opponent, you cannot feel sorry that he's a man or a woman, a young boy or an old man. You have to go down. You're going to win. You're in a battle, right? Cannot have compassion with anyone to execute any project.
You know, what I'm looking for, and I mean, what is much needed in Trinidad and Tobago is that the fact that our children, our people can get the
Mhm.
type of surgery that they need in the country and don't have to fly out.
Well,
And I am hoping that the Couva Children Hospital could be one of those prime location because of there's a new hospital. I mean, Dr. Ramrup and I talk about this quite a bit. That it has. I mean, it is more feasible in so many ways to get the surgery to bring the surgeons into that area than to have our people fly out of the country, inconvenience of flight, location. They may have to go into weather conditions that is not of they're used to. I mean, just imagine they have to come up into New York City and it in mid-February or something, and you have to and winter and you have to get places to stay. You may not. I mean, the cost factor is there in many ways. The
yes,
emotional
yes.
and a lot. So I think it is much feasible for the country to have the experts in the country to get this hospital up and running. I understand that today three operating theaters out of five is functional, and our government is put back in order. So we just have two to bring back in. And I mean, the facility is the ultimate place to build around. So I would like to see that, and I'd like to get some Dr. Ramrup expert, you know, advice on these things.
Here and there.
Jump in there.
Yeah.
Jump in whenever you're ready.
Yeah,
Hello? Oh, sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. You got sorry, Gary. I was just trying to get off something in another meeting there. Well, I have. I mean, in terms of the government's push, I mean, it was in the manifesto, and I'm happy to see that they are executing quite a lot of the deliverables, right, within a reasonable space of time, a reasonable timeline. I'm happy that at least the Couva Hospital will be commissioned. I do agree with Parum that I mean, and of course, I guess everyone here that the last government was very spiteful, and it was really a bad thing that you have a facility that could have been activated for COVID, and
Mhm.
really and truly it was not commissioned, and there was quite a lot of equipment that a lot of it is probably underused or underutilized. And as everyone here knows, like a plane, if you don't use some of these equipment, they're going to eventually not work and then get out of date. Uh,
Mhm.
one of the big disadvantages of in Trinidad and Tobago is that we do not have proper scheduled and preventative maintenance programs. And the reason why we don't have that is because they put a lot of political positions are filled in terms of CEOs and chairmen of board, etc., where quite a lot of persons are politically appointed and they do not have the
Mhm.
necessary skill sets to manage healthcare systems in accordance with contemporary standards, right? One of the biggest problems we have in this country is that we do not have proper accreditation standards to measure
Mhm.
the deliverables that are required for the delivery of healthcare, both in the private and the public healthcare sectors. This puts us at a disadvantage because if you divide healthcare into primary, secondary, and tertiary healthcare systems, each one of those systems are very weak. And I think that the big trust and it should be This government needs to look at a few things. Political wins are good. You have a manifesto, you deliver your goods. You hope that within a space of time, your electorate will look at what you're doing, and then hopefully they will vote you back in. My take on that is I don't think that is a given. I think that there are certain things that you have to put in place that are going to have to tell you that you are actually improving something, because I think that the people in this country that makes the decisions when an election comes around are those persons in those constituencies which we call marginal. And if you look at the population that actually votes or do not vote, is those people that are in the middle class, even some upper class or lower upper class. They are the ones who actually vote a party in or out by either voting or not voting for that party. They don't align themselves to any political party, and they are the ones that makes the difference in the marginal seats in Trinidad and Tobago. And that is probably not going to change for a while, until there's a drastic change in terms of how we separate our constituencies when it comes to voting. So, in my opinion, health care, I'm very passionate when it comes to that, because I'm not just a physician. From 1980, I graduated, 85, I graduated from UWI Mona. In 1996, I gained an MBA in healthcare management, and I got a better understanding after doing that 4-year postgraduate course in the university. I got a better idea of some of the things that are supposed to be implemented when it comes to short, medium, and long-term gains when it comes to a country like this, which is a small country of just 1.3, 1.4 million people. So a lot of the things that you would have difficulties in larger developed countries, even Venezuela, is that you would not have that here if you manage this blasted healthcare sector properly. So I think that one of the biggest problems we have here is the political intervention in healthcare. And biggest problem is that you do not have skills and competencies that are task related when it comes to the key positions in managing this sector. Suffice to say, I don't think that we need to go back after the last 10 years and say, okay, well, they didn't do this and they didn't do this. And I think we need to stand up here now and say, okay, listen, this is what we have to do. Firstly, we have to improve healthcare so that my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, anybody from the diaspora could come back here for Carnival or Christmas or whatever. And if they fall ill, they actually experience the same type or standard of healthcare that they will get in any one of the developed countries, whether it's USA, Canada, or Europe. And in other words, then this government has the opportunity, right? They have the opportunity to actually go now and say, okay, all right, we have a manifesto, we deliver. 1, 2, we need to put in place certain things that will improve the sector, and it will keep it at a level that is measurable, and it can be compared with other healthcare systems that are working pretty well on a global scale. In other words, then we need to benchmark some of the things that we are doing. Doing an appendectomy in the US, doing an appendectomy in Paris, doing an appendectomy in Russia, and doing an appendectomy in a private medical center is basically the same. It is the same type of equipment, the same competency that is required by a surgeon, the same standard operating procedures that have to put in place, so that if we screw up in any one of those areas, whether private or public or any one of those countries that I just mentioned, then we are able to measure it and say, well, look, we're not coming up to par. So the problem is that in order for us to bring specialist surgeons and specialists who are highly competent and who are highly capable of practicing complex surgical procedures, that we may not have the equipment or even the competencies here, and we want to bring them in a country like in this country. We cannot bring them right now because the basic systems, the basic standard operating procedures, the basic processes, right, are not in accordance with international healthcare standards. So Sumant and I have been preaching from the beginning, and I mean, I know we have said, you have to now measure, do an assessment of all your processes. You have to put in performance indicators to measure them, and then you have to identify your gaps. You need to bring it up to contemporary standards in accordance with people like Kaiser Permanente, John Hopkins or whatever. Start benchmarking and saying, well, look, our mortality rate is this, our neonatal intensive care mortality, morbidity rate is this. Our hospital infection rate is this compared to. So that if we say there's an international standard of 4% and we are currently 8%, then we have work to do. You see, but if you can't after 5 years, and this is already 1 year into government almost, and if after the next 3 years, and we only have 3 years, as we keep saying, because the last year this government will get a lot of pressure in the public service because that's the election year. So we only have a couple of years again to get this thing right. And I am asking, we have been preaching, right? There are very simple systems that we have to do. We have to, in every single regional health authority, in every single medical, in the public healthcare system, which falls under the chief medical officer, and hopefully if we can engage the private sector, we have to make sure that our accreditation standards are up to par. We have to have an independent quality assurance organization, not a ministry one, not a RHA one. You cannot measure your own quality. It has to be an independent quality association. The government should very soon come out and say, well, look, we want to have an independent quality association. These are the terms of reference. We'll have 1 or 2 government officials, but we'll have a member from this and that and that and that community, blah, 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 and give them the resources to measure the quality, both in the private and the public healthcare sector. This is what we have to start doing now. And unless we don't do that, we cannot understand where we are, and therefore we cannot facilitate highly specialized surgery in the country, because you don't want somebody to come down here on a weekend, do highly complex surgery, and as soon as they get out of the country, the Monday morning, the person gets a very, very bad complication and they die. So one of the problems is that you have to make sure that the systems and processes are up to par and bring them in, and that takes a few months. That will take months. And what will make that happen? You have to start saying, look, you already put a CEO, for example, who is your friend. You already put a chairman of a board, etc., who is political, and nobody there is actually competent to actually understand healthcare management in its contemporary form. Well, what you need to do is have a think tank, have a group of persons either in the party or out of the party, and say, well, you are our advisors to advise our advisor, who is a friend of mine, so I put to advise the minister. Yes? So you have to come now and say, okay, this is what we have to do. Go back and look at your strategic plan, get the processes measured in all your RHAs, start benchmarking these processes within the country itself, invite the private sector to come on board and see if you can create some universal standards within the country, right? Start looking at, for example, your processes, your national accreditation standards, your patient's right charter, all right? And of course, your coding. And you look at your comprehensive procedural terminology, right? Start developing the CPT codes in Trinidad for all the procedures. So if you do a appendectomy in a church, or you do an appendectomy in the back of a car, or any one of the nursing homes, or any one of the private or public sectors, then the systems that you have to use, the instruments that you have to use, the competencies, the follow-up care, etc., must be following a particular and very precise common procedural terminology. Every single thing is coded, every single thing is measured, and I am positive that the insurance companies that are the private insurance companies like Algeco and Guardian Life and all of these will be happy, because when a doctor puts in a claim for $20,000 for the same procedure, and $100,000 for the same procedure, and $50,000 for the same procedure in Trinidad, that's a complex problem. And I'm sure if we bring them together and we start developing the common procedural terminology, and they say, well, look, an appendectomy should only cost X amount of dollars. This is what is required. This is the amount of gauze that you have to use. This is blah, 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 blah. Then they will say, they will standardize the claims, and they will standardize the payment and the reimbursements for surgery in the private sector. And that will be the cost in the public sector. And although you're not taking up the money from your pocket to do that, it is coming from taxpayers' dollars, because whether you like it or not, there's a cost. There's a cost for putting somebody in a private hospital, sometimes $1 million for 3 nights. That's the same cost and even more in a public hospital for the same person, because you're using more staff in the public hospital, because in a private hospital, you might just have 1 or 2 RNs in an ICU, right? And the doctor will only come out when you need him. But in a hospital, you have about 10 or 15 doctors, medical residents, nurses, 10, 15 nurses, attendants. It costs more in the public sector for the same ICU admission, the same bed. So you see, I I am happy that they are opening the theater. I understand that they have recruited quite a lot of doctors, but I stick to my request that the Ministry of Health, I think the health via the authorities, we need to have an advisory panel, right, that looks at the political gains, which is what's happening, but also the long-term gains. And I am saying that the long-term gains, the more high-impact legacy gains, are the ones that are going to let them be voted back again in the next 5 years. If it is just getting the hospital opening and doing surgery with doctors coming in from abroad, there are complications which will come back and hit them in the face, and it might be worse than what I'm saying. I am saying simply get an idea of what is happening in the health sector, put in the necessary KPI, make sure that all the RHAs are measuring the same thing and comparing it, get it up to par, and then when it happens and you have an understanding of what is your current platform, then it's easy to facilitate foreign intervention in performing highly complex surgery. I can tell every one of you all, as a qualified orthopedic surgeon since 1990, it is not just fixing a hip or putting in a plate, It is about preparing the patient, making sure that you have the necessary risk management programs in policies and processes inside, the relevant people to help you, and of course, most of all, the post-operative and the rehabilitation care. Right now, you're putting in hips in Trinidad, right, which are hemiarthroplasty, not total hips, because you're not doing them in the hospital. And as soon as they come out of hospital, they are going to die with bed sores, because even your physiotherapy program, you're not even getting to a physiotherapist after months, and some of the people can't even get physiotherapists. You're amputating diabetic legs, and they don't even have prosthesis to get about themselves. They eventually end up with a double amputation, and the mortality rate is higher, very high. So there are things that you're doing, and they're measuring things by the amount they're doing. That was the biggest problem I had when I was medical director in San Fernando. I had a staff of 50 specialists and 250 residents, both PGY 1, 2, and 3 residents. You know what the senior doctors were doing? They were saying that their scorecard for performance was how many surgery I did at the end of the month. I did 50, and therefore I want 50 prostheses, because you know what? I want 60 because I want to do more. But out of those 50 or 60, they were not measuring whether those persons were going back out to work, how long they were getting back out to their community, if they were actually walking, because half of these people were getting the surgery, they get out of the hospital, doctor happy, everything good, I did the surgery, and you don't know what's happening with them after, because they get bed sores, they have no therapy, they can't move, they get stiff on bed, and they die within 6 months. So these are some of the things that we have to get right.
Doc, if I may add,
Right.
it's just to follow through with those patients. You don't need a doctor to go and specialized doctor to go and collect data. You could take somebody from UV or A levels and go on, visit, and that's it.
And that is correct. And that's what I'm saying. It's not so much. It's critical thinking. Ved. It's not anything else but critical thinking.
Exactly.
And the thing about it is that you use the resources that are available. When I was in ODPM from 2011 to 2016, we used a lot of the URI graduates. Right?
Exactly.
They did a lot of the research for us, and they did it as part of their programs. So in other words, and when you are you see, this is where management comes in. This is where people who are trained in managing people, who have at least an MBA, who understands how to manage people in a way, right? If you have resources, you optimize the use of those resources, and you look at your target, look at your goals, set your KPIs, measure them, and then you look at where you're going. If you don't know where you are in the health sector, if you come into power last year, right, and at this point in time, you cannot say what is your current national mortality rate, what is your current mortality rate in all the different hospitals. Some of the key indicators like hospital infection gives you a good idea of what is happening. If you can't tell me that the difference in hospital infections between San Fernando, Port of Spain, Sangre Grande, and Point, and you can't tell me what is the exact infection rate at the end of the month that is reported back by the CEO to the board of directors at the statutory meeting, I am positive if I go and sit at a statutory meeting in any one of those boards and I get a list of a dashboard and I say, what is your hospital infection rate for San Fernando? They can't tell me. because it's not part of the reporting. It's not part of the dashboard that the CEO is bringing towards the board. And therefore, that is what I'm talking about. That is what the advisor to the minister has to do. He has to make sure with the chief medical officer, put those things in place so that the actual KPIs that come back to the boards of directors statutory meeting every month has the relevant information that actually tells what is happening. It is not happening. I'm telling you, it's not happening.
No, I mean what you're saying is very surprising, because those are basic things in management. And if, as you say, that persons who are appointed to manage the various institutions within the medical fraternity, then you're going to run into serious problems. But that's a chronic problem in Trinidad, chronic.
So, and
And
it's a basic problem. I mean, I can tell you that our private sector is much more efficient and effective when it comes to that, because their bottom line is money. You understand, right? Because the bottom line in the public sector is supposed to be quality. Basically, all the public sector does is they get a budget, they spend that budget in the mid-year. If it's fallen, they ask for more. All right, and then that is why all you're talking here about buying a machine that is overpriced, right? Having a machine in San Fernando, 2 machines, one is not working, right? Then it bugs up on the long weekend, and then you have to send them to Point, right? And then you have to look for another place. All of that is poor management, because you have 4 other machines in San Fernando, right? In addition to the ones in San Fernando. So if you cannot get an MRI done on a Sunday, right, then you can actually have a MOU with some of the private providers, which provides it at the same damn cost, because their cost will be less. Why is less? Because you can say, look, give me an MRI for $3,000, right? And I will send it to you. And all the elective non-emergency MRIs, I will send them to you, because you have 4 machines in San Fernando. You do them, you measure them, you monitor them, you make sure that they fall into the accreditation standards, etc. And the emergency MRI for the guy who comes in, like your grandson who gets in an accident and gets into and you reach in San Fernando on a Sunday morning, he has access to the MRI. You understand? So this is basically what management is all about. And healthcare management, you have to be flexible, right? It's not a rigid management system. It's very, very dynamic, and therefore your ability to understand trending, it has to be like a pulse. It has to be every day. You have to understand your bed management, your status. You have to understand your hospital infection rate, the number of falls in a hospital, right? Your throughput rate, right? Your utilization rate. All of these things are daily figures that has to be fed back, right, to the CEO's office or the quality department. And if you don't have the incident reports, right, we don't have a very robust incident reporting system. So if you're not aware of the prescription errors, for example, that is occurring on a daily basis, then you cannot manage healthcare systems in terms of delivery of healthcare using medications. And there's no measurement of prescription errors, adverse events, right? Errors, and of course, reports of negative incidents. It's very, very poor. What they do, they outfires, but they don't have this collective understanding of early warning systems that tells the hospital management when something is happening. It's only when it happens and they say, oh my God, and you hear it in the news, and then they start out in fires.
I mean, the objective should be to prevent the fire. I had an unfortunate situation this week gone by. My aunt suffered a heart attack, taken to the Shogunas Health Center, then sent to Mount Hope, spent the night in Mount Hope, and die in Mount Hope. Nothing was done to really, to help her in the sense, so I mean, I know how bad it is, and don't forget calling for an ambulance right now. Okay, and forget calling for an ambulance. It's better you put up some flashing light in a donkey cart and go your way.
You see, that's one of the things. When Hamza Rafiq when we started this system, right, I was sent to Nova Scotia, right, in Canada, because the first ambulance system came in from the EHS system from Canada, right, in Nova Scotia, right, and under the UNC, under the late Bastille Pandey, Hamza was the minister at the time, I was one of the national medical directors that implemented the emergency health system in Trinidad and Tobago. We used to call it EHSTT, right? And we developed all the standard operating procedures with Dr. Rashid Adam, who was the national medical director. And we implemented the ambulance system at the San Fernando emergency room, where I was the head of the emergency department there for 10 years, right? So it's under my supervision that we brought in the ambulance system in Trinidad and Tobago, and the PCR forms, which was the patient care forms, right, that the ambulance people filled out. We used to have to monitor those forms and go through using quality assurance to train the ambulance personnel. We had things like ambulance turnaround time and daughter needle time and everything. Those were measured at the time those ambulance came. We trained emergency medical technicians basic, right? And the plan was to train emergency medical technicians intermediate, that the ability to put up a drip, and paramedics, the ability to put reperfusion medications after you stabilize a heart and you get back the person alive. The only way that you can get them to hospital is you have to maintain the heartbeat. It makes no sense resuscitating a person in Toco or Cedras, right? And you cannot maintain that heartbeat when you reach back to Point Fortin Hospital or Sangre Grande Hospital. And if you can't have anybody to put the drugs and put up a drip, then the patient dies. A massive accident on the highway, people are bleeding through their femur, people are bleeding in their chest, and you have nobody who could put in a chest tube on the field or put up a drip and give, because they do not have anybody authorized legally to put up a drip on the field, because we don't have paramedics. And look at the length of time that we set up that ambulance system when UNC was in power under Pandey. I was one of the medical directors. So I am screaming. Anytime I talk about this, I get vexed. Because look at where we are. Government imagine for 10 years, the PNM never did anything. You understand? We were getting somewhere when we had the People's Partnership. Although I was an ODPM, one of the things that I was doing it from the ODPM side was looking at mitigation and public safety. So I was working from outside the health sector, right? And working very much with Fuad Khan to try to see if we could implement these things, right, as part of a disaster readiness program, because of course that is one of the first responders. So that under the ODPM, we were actually improving public safety by improving the ambulance system, because in a disaster, they are one of the first responders. You see? So that is how I was using my funding in ODPM to try to improve that system. And we began training people in paramedics, etc. from that time. And then all of a sudden, of course, people lost the election, and here we are. So now this government, I was very happy when I saw that they're going to be doing the cardiac catheterization labs. A lot of money is going into it and final. But when I look at that now, I'm worried, because if you are going to do those things, then you need a person who is viable. If you do not have a pre-hospital system with paramedics on the field, with defibrillators, we cannot even use defibrillators in the airports or in buildings or banks. Why? Because when you shock that heart and you bring it up to life, who is taking that heart now to the private medical center like Sinclair or Gulview, or even, to give them a chance at a lab? Because you can't, because there's nobody to put up a drip and give them the medication to continue that heart beating to reach the cath lab. There's nobody. So that, in order to do that, side by side, you have to bring now the pre-hospital system in place, and you have to get that to work, because you can't in one hand put a set of money to open up all these labs, and in one hand you're not improving the pre-hospital care, right? So that's what I'm saying. And all of this is management. All of this is good CEOs who would look at the dashboards, who will balance the programs, who are going to ask for funding to make sure that everything happens, and not just for political reasons, put a lot of money and time in one area. It makes no sense putting a lot of funding in one area if you're not balancing your scorecard.
You're right, Doctor. Right. One of the problem that had here in Venezuela is that lack of trained personnel. Right. I see in Trinidad the majority of nurses do not know how to put on an IV. They are not trained to put in an IV. What happened here in Venezuela? Everyone was trained. All the nurses was well trained to use IV, do stitching, assistance to the medical doctor. And I went to do my I don't know how you say in English, pasantía, artículo 8. Article 8. When you graduate as doctor, you have to go far away to, I think, 2 year, 1 year to do medical service in remoted area. I went to a place very far, almost 6 hours driving, and then about 4 hours walking. You have to walk there. You cannot get any cars here. When I reached the facility, the medical facility, talking about high jungle, I was surprised that the person who even cleans, knows how to put in an IV, right? He knows how to do, is trained to be a medical assistant. Imagine that the person who cleans. So I asked, why is that? He said sometimes they don't have nurses, sometimes don't have doctors, they go away and the facility is empty, right? So now this is a training nationwide. Now for equipment, medical equipment, each hospital here has something they call electromedical. Um, a technician who is trained to repair all these medical equipment. Whatever medical equipment they are trained, they are specialized in that equipment. And majority of the people here has the hospital has sophisticated laboratory. Now, when you want more scientific laboratory, okay, you go to Puerto La Cruz or to Caracas, right? So I think Trinidad is so small country and has very huge problems with health. So this health situation has to be controlled and invest more in infrastructure of training the personnel. We have a lot of surgeons. Almost every doctor here is trained in any form of surgery. And I think Gary, you see one surgery of mine, no? I sent to you, no?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I see quite a bit of your surgery.
right. You see, and most of the doctors here perform surgeries, and almost everyone here with proper training, I mean, in the medical field, has training to put in drips, put in medication, administrate medication. You call a specialist on phone, he guides you what to do. You have the training, he guides you what to do. But the problem is in Trinidad, when you put in your curriculum, I went to Mount Hope, I placed my curriculum there, and they say, hey, we cannot hire you. Why? Give me the reason why. He didn't tell me. I met him somewhere out in, how you say the place, Port of Spain. He said to me, you are too qualified. You see, too qualified. So that is one of the problems as well. They don't want qualified people for political reasons, or people who are not qualified does not want you there. It's not convenience. So, Dr. Ramrup, you are right in all ways. There has to be following up in everything that you do. Has to be honesty. And I always say, a lazy man is a dangerous man, and an overqualified man is just as the same as a lazy man, right? Um, I think it is on what we are seeing is fact of political spitefulness and laziness as well at all levels.
So I want people to understand. I want to educate the population what we're trying to accomplish in Trinidad and Tobago, what we're looking for. We have a
Mhm.
man has highly as qualified as Dr. Miraj Parum Miraj here, and they're refusing. The PNM refused to hire. We have some experts here. We have Dr. Stephen Ramrup. I mean, and his qualification goes 100 miles long, just like Dr. Parum, with his capabilities. We have Mr. Viz Hiram, we have Mr. Suman Singh, we have engineering here, Mr. Ken Dalchan. So we have a team that is fully equipped to assist and advise the country. This should be taken into consideration. Um, in a way, what I'm looking at here is the millions of dollars that it cost us with all this equipment that was neglected. Now we have to fix all of these things here, and going forward. And I mean, the people must understand the cost factor in here before they jump and say anything else, you know, and look at what we are doing here, what we're trying to do.
I'm
Yeah.
very sure. I'm very sure that what the PNM government took out in the cost of these equipment, I'm very sure that our prime minister and minister will show that they will put the hospital running together and will not reach that amount or that high cost. You will see what I see. You will see.
And what I'm looking forward to, we have that Cuba airport that we could fly a surgeon into Trinidad and into Cuba, what a Camden airport they call it, the airport in Cuba there, and
Camden, correct.
yeah, and go straight to the hospital to perform a surgery, and in and out. We don't have to go through Piaco, could go straight to that airport so that we have an airport next to that hospital, not too far off. You know,
And
we could
I'm
fly
that.
somebody on the air ambulance, go straight to the Cuba hospital. So we have things in place that we need to build on. And you know, this is the direction I'm hoping that we head in. We need that ambulance service like 100 years ago. We are so far behind. We need to get running with the ambulance service, whether it's volunteer. But that's a program Dr. Rambo would have to help install in Trinidad and Tobago to train those people so that they are qualified in assisting people. Because the volunteer service, you also have to be highly qualified all together with the
Yeah.
trained politicians. So we need people like Dr. Parum in Trinidad also helping us with that. Go ahead, gentlemen.
You see,
Yeah.
and you see, most of the medical doctors here in Venezuela has ability even to fly a helicopter, right?
Mm.
Um, Even nurses as well, nurses, paramedics, and I respect a lot of the paramedics and firemen here. When for example, an accident. Okay, yes, I'm a doctor, yes, yes. But when I see the paramedics and firemen coming, I step aside. I say, hey, man, you are the expert in this. You go ahead, because I am clinic. Yes, they are trained, well trained in rescue, well trained in maintenance. I know you see, training is something that is very important. Um, and the protection service is how you say this, protection service, like rescue, we call it protection civil protection here, civilian protection. That's a group of people that is trained in rescue and accident and paramedics in all forms. They go by water, land, and air. I don't think that Trinidad has that
Oh, we
type
know
of
we know we're close to that. This is something that needs to be done. We have people dying in our
right.
country every day, whether they get shot, whether it's an accident, whether it's a natural cause, something. There's no assistance. You're dead.
Oh, no, that is lack of, well, let's say that is not their family. That those political fellas is not their family. They don't care. They just take a plane and go to anywhere that they want to, and they get their help. So they don't care about anybody. This government will put all those things in place. We will see in time. See, there's a lot of manipulation, and when we try, you will try to put on a good project, and yet you will have people, if you do not abolish this CEO who is not there with you, or the staff that is not with you, you will always have opposition and fighting or spitefulness towards citizens. Who pays the consequences? The citizens, because of political spite. Now in health, you cannot have political assignment or political agenda, right? Or racism or anything like that. You have to be loving person. You have to be a person who is willing to help and serve in any way that you want. That is yet to be. That is how we do it here. You have to be humble. You cannot be having how you say preference, preference, the word preference, or just simple emergency come in San Grande Hospital. I saw the emergency come, and those fellas were sitting down outside there, and the doctor alone I was to come and attend to the person, brought him out of the car, brought all the person in the car, and all of them sit down there outside watching, right? So there's no, how you say, heart as well in some of us. When I say some of in just not to point anyone out, in some people there's no heart in education, in medicine. You just put your friend. You have to put person who's qualified, not politically assigned.
Yeah, Ken, I have to leave now, but let me make one comment. And I
Go ahead.
learned this lesson a long time. Senior Commissioner at the Security and Exchange Commission, that's the SEC in the States. He was giving a lecture and he made it very clear brick and mortar do not commit crime. It is individuals who do. And I think coming back to the whole question of wasting public resources, I think is a very serious issue, and it runs through society, and that needs to be corrected. It needs to be corrected. So hopefully that now that the minister has actually tried to quantify the direct cost as well as the indirect cost, as you suggested, the impact on healthcare, etc. How many persons may have died without the necessary care that that hospital could have provided. So I think all of that has to be put together and be investigated thoroughly. Hopefully, government will do that and not just make an announcement. And I think that is my fear, that we make an announcement and then it drops and we move on to something else.
Great. That's a good point, and I believe this is the starting point. This case here, this commission of inquiry that you mentioned, should be the starting point to inspire the legislation, the Transition Act, which we spoke about, right?
Yes.
And we should now expand on that. Politicians, boards, anything that involves transition of a political party, right? To one that's the successor. They
Well,
have to have a transition period.
oh, absolutely. I think that is so important. Otherwise, we are seeing wastage, um, billions of dollars being wasted. Because it doesn't make sense. You build a road and you can't connect it. It doesn't make
Also,
sense. It doesn't make sense that you start building a railway line from one side and the next side and you don't connect it. It's total waste. You know. But
and they
our last
go
point I
ahead.
want to make uh, is, Dr. Maraj, I think we should send over some Trinidadians to be trained in Venezuela.
There is no problem in training, or you can even
Yeah.
bring people here from here to train.
Yeah.
Training does not matter where what country you get it from, right?
Yes.
The most important thing is you execute. One of the problem I see there is everybody wants everything to come from Canada, to come from the US, and if the other Latin countries they don't accept, right? So in Cuba, where they train in the US, they train in Russia, they train in Europe, right?
Mhm.
So training is something that Trinidadians have the ability to do it, to have training. They have the ability. I'm Trinidadian, one Trinidadian, and I was not given the opportunity to get training. Now I receive and I have the ability. I have a, how you say, desarrollar, improve myself in a lot of ways. So if I
Mhm.
can do, you can do it, right? The
Mhm.
things
Right,
that
right. But
the
Parum,
past,
Dr. Parum, the thing about it is, as the relations straighten out between Venezuela and we get things going and the government can
Mhm.
get settled there, you can help us arrange that instead of our people have to go so far off to get training in Germany or even the US, they could get that training right in Venezuela. That will be very feasible. It will be very,
Yes,
I mean, for us to make that possible. And also,
yes,
we want to get some people trained in the language. I mean, some of us studied and we don't get to practice it. So,
yes, yes. Well, I would like to say something. No? How far is Trinidad and Tobago from Venezuela, and how close is the US or Canada from Trinidad and Tobago? Right. So that is a little signo de interrogación. I don't know how you say question mark question sign. Right? Training can be
Right.
done with have improved with Venezuela and Trinidad. Can have a lot of training, medical training. He has a lot of good doctors here, better than me. Let's say that, better than me, right?
Well, we could bring
So
a doctor straight into Cuba Hospital from Venezuela. We don't have to bring it further off. And we could even bring
yes,
you. Vade, I definitely want to bring you back if you have some time during the week so we have cover some other financial matters. I've seen some things happening with First Citizen and different things happening financial. So I want to bring you back
Yeah,
on that conversation if you could
yeah.
spare a few minutes during the week. So you'll let me
I,
know.
I'll, I'll be delighted, Gary. And so I'll take my leave for tonight. Good night to everyone.
Good
Thank you,
night,
Right.
good
Wade.
Vade.
night.
Thank you for taking the
Thanks a
time.
lot, Wade.
Yeah.
So,
Good night.
gentlemen, you could continue. No, Parum, you have a little time more. Or you had to go too.
Yeah, and let me say this little bit there, and I have to go there now because I have to prepare class for tomorrow. Right. Um, it's not that expensive to bring a medical doctor from abroad. It's much cheaper to have the medical personnel from abroad into the country than
I
carry
lost your
people
mic there,
out of the
Parum. We're
country.
not hearing you.
Now, hello.
Yes, I'm
Yeah,
here.
I'm hearing you.
Right, right. It's much cheaper to have a medical doctor in Trinidad from abroad and to train medical doctors in Trinidad locally, right? It is very viable than to carry patients from Trinidad to abroad. Now, what you're doing is you train medical personnel to have that service in the country rather than outside the country. It's much cheaper.
Well, there's a cost attached to everything, eh? And
Yes.
a cost benefit. We have to do the analysis, right, to see what makes sense. Also the quality. What sort of quality are we looking at, right? Is it going to be different, right? From we have to exploit the alternates. But at the end of the day, cost drives everything.
Yes, but
I always say that we had such a good relationship with Venezuela. We could have
mhm.
gotten help to help those divers that was trapped in those pipelines. I'm sure that we could have gotten some kind of export help and equipment right from Venezuela if we had asked for it, right? So,
Yes, yes.
I mean, I think there's a lot of potential with Venezuela. I'm looking forward that all these political issues be straightened out so we can get the economic things going and the other things so we can help our people better. And looking forward to Dr. Parung coming down to Trinidad. I mean, he's not that far off, to come and assist us with all those medical technologies and team up with Dr. Ramrup, you know. Go ahead,
I'm
gentlemen.
delighted
Go
to
ahead.
do. All right, fellas. Good night.
Good night, Dr.
Kuman,
Parun.
Take care, Doc.
Kuman, you fellas
Yes.
had doubles for me. Good night.
Don't
Man.
worry. Yeah. I'll hold you to that. I'll get you your doubles. Don't worry.
All right.
So, good night, Paul. We'll talk soon. Suman, I wanted to touch on this NIS thing that the that was taken out of the Children Authority, and we see that happening far so often, where money is collected from employees and not paid into the NIS fund. So maybe you could give us a little bit on that. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, but I know that has been a scandal that has been going on here for several years, Gary. Employers take out their NIS, which is mandatory, but some of them never submitted it. So what happened is that your NIS payments, I don't know if you know, you must have 750 payments, NIS contributions, so that when you retire, at age 60 or 65, as the case may be, you would have made that minimum amount of payments that will guarantee you that you get your NIS every month. The
But
amount
Suman,
of,
this is a government agency, right? That
yes,
did
it
this.
is.
And now I have a relative that work in police and fire. They didn't pay into her NIS also.
So you see, these,
And so beside the private company doing it, you have government agencies that do the same thing.
but not only that, Gary, the system is so messed up. I have made over 1,440 contributions. 1,440 contributions. Yet, I had trouble in getting my various ministries where I work at to say, well, yes, he has. I was able to only get the minimum amount, 750, for me to become eligible to get my NIS when I made over 1,440 contributions. They were not able to locate it. And these are in government ministries. These are in government ministries. So to tell you how lapsed they are, or ineffective, in other words, even within the government sector, to collate these things accurately. So when somebody is about to resign, if you work in 5 different ministries, you personally have to go and check now in these 5 ministries. This should have been NIS, the National Insurance Board responsibility, and the ministry's responsibility. They put it on you, the individual, to go and have your contributions checked. So let's say when under the Ministry of Health, and that ministry has changed hands, changed name, or have been consolidated with another ministry, then you cook, because then over time they don't have no records that you ever worked in either one. So it's a big mess, total mess at a National Insurance Board payments and so on. A lot of irregularities there. And I went through this firsthand, so I can tell you, the hell I had to catch to sort this thing out. Anyway, I was able to at the end, and get the minimum amount. Okay, that's it.
So, Sumant, you would say is about a systemic problem that exists?
It is a systemic problem, like everything else can. If you have strong systems, like doesn't matter where you work, which you may be working in 4 or 5 different ministries, and you are also given an NIS number, right? So that number should, and I say should, have your records of your payment, regardless of wherever you worked. So you could have worked in the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Local Government, the Ministry of Justice, and what have you. But your payment should reflect your contributions, that NIS number, not the ministry.
Yeah.
That number should really reflect how many contributions you made.
And if I may say something, so based on what you mentioned there, you made 1,400 plus contributions.
And 40 payments.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And you are now paid, basically, you are now equated to 750 minimum.
Because that's a minimum payment. And I had to fight. With ministries and letting them know I work here for 4 years. How come you only have 28 payments for me? What?
But as far as the money that you're receiving from the NIS, is it less or is it more, or is it equivalent to your 1,400 plus? Or
It is equivalent to my 750, the minimum amount.
So technically you're being cheated.
Obviously.
So why are you paying to a system that cheats you or steals from you in that sense?
And mind you, that is government. I'm not talking private sector. I'm talking about government offices.
So, Sumant, the NIS system has some flaws that need to be fixed.
A lot of flaws, Ken. A lot of flaws. And imagine, you see, the government payroll system is what's done by something called IRIS. I was in charge of IRIS, Integrated Human Resource Information System. That's what Iris stands for. It's a software which is written by PeopleSoft, and now it's Oracle PeopleSoft, and these payments are automatic deduction, and once it's automatic deduction, payments were or should have been sent directly to the NIS board or NIS office. Whether this was done for the various ministries or not, I can't say. Because in education, we process 18,000 employees every month, right? So that as soon as a deduction is taken, the amount of withdrawal hits into every number, every employee number, and it automatically is credited in the NIS office, which is a totally separate entity. Yeah? So there shouldn't be any irregularities there. So whether you worked 20 years ago for 2 months in the Ministry of Health, that should also reflect. Now, what they tell you now, NIS tell you, well, we don't have records. You have to go to the Ministry of Health so-and-so office in Port of Spain, and you have to sort that out with them. Now, suppose
this damn nonsense that are cut out under our government this time around. We have a lot to fix, We have a lot to fix.
All right, Gary, we ain't started, boy. I am telling you, every damn system need to be changed. Everything. It means every damn thing has to be corrected. But they want to start from scratch and redo this thing because you're building something on something non-predictable from now. So what is it? It means the same damn thing is going to happen 5 years from now because the system is not being remedied. It's being built on whatever.
We have to fix what we can fix in this first 5 years. There's a lot to fix that we need to fix in this first 5 years. I hope they are able because,
to do that.
And we need 55 years, but what I'm saying is quite a bit of things that we need to put in place to enhance our position for securing government and our delivery, in this first 5 years that I want to see get done.
Now, you're talking about people become more conscious about NIS when they're about to retire. So imagine you're about to retire, you made your contribution way beyond and above, but they don't have the records.
Well, we want to educate our young generation so they understand, what to look for. This is going to be an education institute here.
Anytime I tell people tell me, I'm retiring next 2-3 years, I say, look, make it your business to go to the NIS office and start checking on your NIS bill. Because don't be like me and get surprised when you retire and you have not made the minimum amount of payments when you know fully well you have done nearly twice that. You have made twice as much payments, but yet the NIS office cannot find the minimum amount of 750 payments for you. It's a big crap, real crap. That's, for retirees, Ken. It becomes a nightmare because you may be living down in Point Fortin and you have to go to Port of Spain or to your nearest NIS office and check for these things. And if you work in Port of Spain in, let's say, in a different immigration, for example, or CSO, and CSO, as we know, changed hands on the various ministries over the years. It used to be under the Prime Minister's office. It used to be under the Ministry of Finance and so on. So, you know what I'm saying? You can see what the problem there.
Somewhat, again, accountability and transparency, right? And let me just, move slightly away, but aligns with the same topic, right? We had a high-profile case concerning a guy who was kidnapped in Barbados, Brent Thomas.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we heard in the news that the file went missing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, what sort of checks and balances, what sort of system do we have in place where people could just go in and pick up files and they disappear? They could go into the station and pick up a brick of drugs, a brick of cocaine or marijuana, and put a piece of wood in there, wrap it up, and just disappear with that.
People, what about
Right?
the police system? There's some doing that.
So that's what he means.
So the system is a joke. The
And
system is a joke.
even Ken, you talk that is security. You're talking about the national
That is
security.
the highest level.
So these
Right.
these are the people that are supposed to be protecting us. These are the people we're supposed to trust
No.
when we in danger, right? And this is the nonsense going on.
So could you imagine someone working in the NIS office don't like your head? You say, okay, I'll do for you. You don't know the powers these people have. They don't even record your records, which you're supposed to. So
Now look at this here. Look at this here. Right? This is a lady who was denied assistance, right? During the COVID period. Why? Why was she denied? You see how now she won her case, right?
Mhm.
And she's getting a lump sum of money. But you see again how the PNM style of management, this is another example, have cost us. And it's costing us dearly.
Yeah,
Well,
500,000.
Gary, I mean, look, you have to understand these circumstances there. The whole entire world was shut down, right, during COVID. So there has to be some sort of common ground and some sort of reasoning here where you could say, hey, we understand the fact that she was denied her disability, or whatnot, right?
But
This was
Ken,
a
there's no
very-
excuse. There's no excuse for that. This is high class wickedness with the PNM and their
Yeah, and they
incompetence.
shouldn't, and that's my point. They shouldn't have done that, right? And she should have been granted her disability.
There is far too much. Many of our citizens have been brutalized by the PNM who are afraid to speak out. Okay, afraid
I
to
have
speak out.
you
Go
know,
ahead.
I have a situation where I was out of the country. I left in early 2020. I got a call and said, hey, if I want to leave, and I said, yes, I'll leave. And the next day I was on a flight out of here. And I didn't return for from 2020 to 2024, right? And I was supposed to collect certain things, but because the fact that I couldn't fly, the whole world was shut down. I am being given a runaround.
That's the mentality. That is the mentality.
I am
All
only
right?
going to
And
take
that
it
has
for
to
certain,
change. That nonsense has to change.
I am only going to take it for a certain point, and and then I will take it to the next step, right? Because these are simple things, but there's a lot of wickedness in government. What different governments here, right? One trying to suppress the other, right? And this has to stop. People has to take out their political hats. There's a lot of people who are in the PNM and they're very spiteful, and I'm looking at it out of spite. And this is what they're doing. But I've spoken to the people in authority to try to remedy it. And if it's not done, then I'll take it to the next step. Right? I'm having an open conversation with the gentleman. He's been very responsive. I don't want to call names. And I will work with him to the point where, but if I see it not going anywhere, then I'm going to take it to the next step.
So can you afford to do that? What about people in the deep south who do not have access, who are retired and in some form of disability and so on, are having to make that trek into Port of Spain, and they get the runaround in Port of Spain now to rectify certain issues. What is their situation? So you see the hardship which are brought to bear on certain people.
So you're touching on a lot of things, yes, Sumad.
Yeah.
The need now to decentralize. Why we have to go to Port of Spain for everything? You want to board people, you have to go to Port of Spain. Let us decentralize, move it to central, move it to south, right? Have satellite offices. This is why when I look at the traffic plan that I developed, I want to connect Central to the east, to Manzanilla, to to Beach and these places, right? To open up all of these places, to make it more accessible for people now to move, not
Nice.
having to spend 4 or 5 hours to get from Beach to
But
Port
you
of
know,
Spain.
on top of that, Ken, part of my recommendation, and I saw it put into the government plan of action, is the multi-purpose government building. So you say, for instance, you have to go to various ministries. You don't have to go 10 different places. You have a multi-purpose government building, health ministries in one section. You have the Ministry of National Security, or
A
Justice
one-stop shop.
Ministry.
Basically, it's a one-stop shop, Gary.
Yeah, and then
Correct,
the
correct.
building should be structured where ample parking, ample access to the highway. For instance, the one that is proposed for Central is the ultimate thing that I'm looking for. I'm looking for one for Sandy Grande. I'm looking for for one, how to say, like in the Point 14 that direction area. I'm looking for one that is in the Mayaro side. You
It,
understand? So and we will go along as it becomes feasible. But
and
this is what I want to see: the multi-purpose governmental building, which I've seen the proposal already in the government plan of action, but something that I recommended, and I'm happy to see it. And this is something I am looking forward to seeing.
now, even if they can't do that, it might. But today's technology, Gary, every electoral district or constituency can afford to have that, because you will find, like from Sipara say, uh, there may be at least 10 people who work in the Ministry of Finance and Board of Finance and have to go to travel on the highway every day. Why can't you have your centralized offices to serve Siparia, Avin, Quarry, Santa Flora, and these other outlying districts? The Labre can have the one to take care of Capdeville and Granville and Cedrus and Icacus and so on. Why can't they? We don't even. They will tell you, okay, we can't afford to build a massive decentralized office at this point. But let me tell you, the technology now, you can be under a house in a 2-bedroom and do the work.
No, but
So
we can't do certain government ministry like it could allow people to work remotely for those who service it, but to actually engage the public, you can't do it under somebody's house. Come on,
No,
we're not
I'm
doing
just
donkey cat days, man. Come on.
I'm just exaggerating that, but I could do it in any constituency, in
yeah,
any
yeah.
you got building.
Yeah, but I'm saying we can't do it in every constituency. We don't have a municipal
Why?
building in every constituency. So
You're
what I'm
kidding, man,
suggesting is
Gary.
is the
No, no.
projected multi-purpose government building will help resolve that. We can't build
They
one
will,
in every constituency,
no, no,
but
no. They will tell you that's too expensive. It will take 10 years to finish. So we got to wait 10 years more now for that to come in stream.
no, I mean we could walk around it in the meantime
So that's
people don't have to
that,
travel into Port of Spain. But what
that's
I'm
what I'm
saying to
saying.
you is there's some local offices that we could use until we put up these government buildings. Yeah,
That is what I'm exactly what I'm saying. Use this
but
as a stopgap
our
measure.
municipal building in most constituencies ain't even prepared to do that. So we'll have to
But
find a location.
if the court system don't have enough courts about the place, and these are, I mean, typical everyday things. Just go Sandu and you'll see what the situation is. You have to bring services to people, man. You can't suffer people for
Well,
10 years.
well,
This
Sumad, we have to look at efficiency, right?
correct.
User
One
friendly
of the good things I hear, guys,
design.
I just want to forget that our Minister of Justice mentioned that there's going to be a caravan going around with legal aid lawyers. There's something that they're
No,
going to be rolling.
that's such an excellent. When I heard that, that is such an
Yeah.
excellent
So
initiative. Now the
yeah.
same thing, Gary. You know what? I went to renew my damn license. Right? I went to the head office in Caroni. They say you have to work your medical and so on. I have my medical and everything. I got there. Oh, we don't have. Why did you renew your records last? I said Point 14. Well, they say all your records are in Point 14. You have to go back Point 14 and renew it. So I had no choice. Last year I had to go Point 14 to renew my license. Then what is the purpose? The purpose of saying we have the head office licensing head office in Caroni. And this is the same thing, what I'm telling you. The same thing will happen in these, offices, this one-stop shop. You have to you have to go back Grandy and do this because the last time you paid tax is in Grandy and all.
We're supposed to be working on improving the technology in the government ministries, right?
It's not a
So I don't know
technology
how long that's going to
issue.
take, and we're supposed to be
It's not,
digitizing a lot of things too, right?
it's not a technology issue.
But,
That is a head of,
Suman, if the infrastructure is not there, that's the reason why they didn't have the files. That file should be online now within the government network.
but
You should be able to go to any police station and make a report and the entire TTPS, right? So they're playing the fool. Okay?
that is what it is. Certain people in the office, they want to suffer people. So they say, hey, you know what? I don't like your face.
I intend to shift them out of their comfort zone.
You see, this
Put
is
pressure on the tail.
This is the crap. And they
This
so
nonsense, this PNM Cosa Nostra thing has to go. We didn't come here to maintain this at all.
the same system persists. Now they say I don't know where to go. I will not take no chance. I'll go back Point Fortin and do it. Just to for me not to waste a damn extra day.
And that is what Faris Awari was boasting about digitization. Where did digitization gone? How come we don't have the network infrastructure to support these kind of things?
The system is dead. Imagine the head office, they will have all the records. No other place. That's assuming that. Right?
That's bullshit. In this day and age, that's moral bullshit.
Total BS. That's what I'm saying. It's total BS. Somebody don't like your head. They say, let me get rid of this guy, man. Go send him back to where he come from. And it's the same thing. The same thing is going to happen in other sectors.
Efficiency. We need to operate with efficiency.
Now, I will tell you something. In Tobago, the births and death, the registrar office in Tobago, it's been down for almost 2 years. Imagine you have to bury a dead. You have to come Trinidad. Come, go back, come back, go back. Sometimes 3 or 4 times. So you can't bury a dead within a month. And this is what people have to suffer for. I mean, why is the human side of things when you could...
and if you pass that change, it get fixed quick, right?
And, it's 400.
Right. So look, not to say I want to cut here, but let me just say something today before I step. We mentioned the Minister of Justice, the Honorable Devish Maharaj. Today I was in Valsay North. I met with the president of the Rotary Club there, and I met with some members. They took me around. I went with in Valsay North with some of the residents. We met other residents. I heard their problems. Right, we investigated it. Also, we looked at a bridge there that was decommissioned and closed because of structural issues. Right, and there's a bunch of things that we need to do there to upgrade, right, to address the problem with flooding and stuff. However, I sat in a meeting also, and they were talking about the Honorable Minister Devish Maharaj, and I said, let me send him a text and just let him know what we're doing. And in a matter of 2 minutes, the Honorable Minister Devish Maharaj responded to my text. And he was ready to meet. And I want to commend him for that. Quick response. And that is the way things should be done. And the guys who were in the meeting said, wow, he responded already? I said, yes. Devish is a no-nonsense guy. He's here to serve, and he's here to serve well. Right? And I could bet you again that he will win that St. Joseph constituency outright. So we are working with the residents in North Valsayn, and Devish is on board. And he is firing in all 8 cylinders. So I want to commend him for that quick response today in front of the people there.
That's excellent, Ken. That's excellent. I don't know. I sent you some files today.
Yes, I didn't get time. I was out in the field, Sumad. Right. But I'll get to it, and we will definitely move towards that. Let me review it.
I hope your experiences with Devish, we can have the same experiences with the 5 UNC MPs whose constituencies at least surrounds this or South Oropouche Lagoon. If we can have these kind of responses, we can do
Definitely,
things.
definitely,
We can do
definitely.
things much faster. And you feel encouraged because, you know, in your case, they will respond to you. You see, you feel, you know, that you're getting somewhere, you're getting some help from someone at least, rather than, you know, you're trying to reach out and you don't not get any responses.
Well, you know, the reaction to the people in the meeting was it was a wow factor,
Wow, it's a wow
right?
factor. Wow
And I
factor.
want to
Wow.
again, I want to commend Devish for such a quick response.
Yes.
The
Yes.
people were very
Definitely.
impressed, and I said, "Hey, this is a guy I know for a while now, and he will deliver." Right?
Nice.
Maybe we do
Right.
have the funding right now, right,
Mhm.
to address certain items, but it's going to get done, right? Once the money is there, Devish will definitely ensure that it is going to get done. We are working together as a community to build, and we are also looking at another term, and that
Correct.
starts now. We have to secure another term, and that work starts now. So everyone should be on board, and we should
Mhm.
focus on delivering more and more success stories.
Correct. Absolutely. I agree with you 100% on that. That we should really get the cooperation from the other ministers.
There is no way in hell, heaven or earth, that we should lose the next election. I am not going to sit easy and allow things to happen and don't say anything about it. All right?
Gary, I'm on board with you 100% on that.
We're making sure our government perform. We're making sure that the people is educated so they don't make some stupid decision based on race and party and some kind of propaganda and they get the facts. What delivery our government is making, they must know about it. They must know about it.
Yes,
Definitely.
definitely. I agree with that. They must know about it as soon as it happens. So you
Yeah.
see, your story, Ken, is such a good one that should be out, you know, somewhere in social media today, or that when you made contact and said, you know, apprise the society that, hey, you reach out to them, and within 20 minutes, I got a response from him.
Within 2 minutes. Within two
Benchmark.
minutes.
Let that be the benchmark so
Yeah.
other people will see, other ministers may see, other MPs may see, and so
Cam,
on.
I also mentioned to him about covering, just like how we cover Neil in his walkabouts and things. So,
So yeah.
all
So
right.
I'll
So
send him a
we're going to
message.
organize the team to do that so that it is clearly seen what he's doing. No propaganda must be able to mislead the
Definitely.
population that the MP is not working because the MP is being seen on the ground. It's you know it's in international how to say and the World Wide Web. All the information is there.
Definitely. Look, I can speak to Devish about that, and I know him personally. He's a hardworking guy, right? A man who acts with integrity, who wants to solve problems, right? He's also involved with feeding the homeless in Port of Spain for years, right? I
Mhm.
don't even have to talk about that.
But
You know,
if you remember, I don't know if you remember during the election. In fact, I think it was Wayne Sturge was saying that when you become a lawyer with his firm, you had to do service to the people. That was part of the criteria.
I don't have the details on that, but I know
No,
Devish is very
I saw that. That was
dedicated.
part of the criteria being part of his law firm. Any young
Mhm.
lawyers that had to. That was part of the criteria. That was the
Correct.
Okay.
initiation.
Correct. You know, many years, in fact, I could tell 2005, all A-level students graduating from NAPS girls had to do 50 hours of community work and go to the hospital and go to the old age homes and so on and assist people. That volunteerism aspect of education is so important that, you know, I don't think anybody do these things again, or schools follow this procedure or methodology as part of the education. Let students get involved in community service, go and help up go to the old age home and go to the hospital and really or help out a patient or pray and hold their hand or talk to them.
I have an agenda with Marissa's team there that we're going to build everything around them because they seem to be most dedicated. So there's a couple things, not just the disaster, all these things, but there's a couple things I want to work around them with that because these are people who seems to show the greatest interest.
A
Yeah, and
lot of
that
interest, a lot of heart, a lot of passion.
yeah, and if that can spread to the other communities, that will be so nice. Then we could talk about enriching communities and so on with volunteerism.
Yes, so that is the team I intend to do everything with, and because of their commitment, so I will stick with them on that, and everybody will have to come under their wing and kind of work with them.
Yeah, that's nice. Excellent. I mean, they're seriously dedicated to what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, so Devesh, if you're looking at the program, thanks for the quick response. The Valse North Association, I'll be talking to them soon. We are going to be identifying and we'll formulate a plan of action. And I was very happy. And in fact, the people were very impressed to see how quick you responded. And we are going to work together. Again, that is a marginal constituency, and we will want to make sure we don't lose that ever. So thanks again for that quick response to the when I sent that message within the meeting there while we have a discussion. I said, okay, let me send him a quick message here to brief him on what we're doing and the problems that we're investigating. And in a matter of 2 minutes, Devesh responded, and the people who were in the meeting said, "Wow, he responded to you." I say, "Yes." I say, "He's a man of action. He don't play around, right?" That is why he's also the Minister of Justice. So he's a guy who acts with integrity. And I happen to know him personally. He also is a humanitarian, feeding the homeless in Port of Spain for years, right? Without any government funding. So again, this is a man who acts with integrity. And he is the people of Valsain and environs and St. Joseph should be happy to have him as the MP.
I'm lucky to have him as an MP. Correct.
Definitely. So we'll be working to sort out the people of North Valsain with their flooding problems and the other infrastructure problems and issues. So I started investigating that today, and I'll be having. In fact, we're setting up a meeting with Devesh.
Okay, when you're planning to do that?
Well, as soon as we pin down some times and dates and so forth, everybody is a little busy, and we just have to come to a tentative. I believe it's sometime this week. Right? But again, the MP is on board, and he's not playing around. He wants to solve problems, and we are working to get that done.
It would be nice if you could just mention that you're doing a similar thing in South?
Yes, definitely.
If you can speak to his colleagues.
We are going to be doing the investigations, right? And the field
Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
Arrangements.
And then we will make the calls to the different ministers and so forth. Once we have gathered the information on the way forward. But I don't want to elaborate too much without the groundwork and field work, right?
Correct.
I want to speak about something that I have knowledge about and so forth.
Right. So let him come and see what you're doing there, and let him know you're planning to do similar things in other constituencies as well.
Sure, definitely. But at the end of the day, we are here to build the party, and we're here to build success stories, right? And we are also working towards our next term in government.
That's the thing. That's the most important goal. That is the most important goal.
Correct.
Because you know what? If they do not win that next election, all our efforts which we're putting out, all our time and so on, waking till 10, 11 in the night and during the day, making all these efforts to come up with plans and how to implement certain things, will all go to naught.
Definitely. So the mission also is to secure that second term, and the work starts, and we have to get it done.
No, the work
and we have to deliver for the people.
Yeah.
And
especially, I can't be making all this effort, right? Every election to make sure, do what I can to help fight for a better Trinidad and Tobago. Anybody squander it. And
No, that can happen. That can
I
happen.
ain't joking. I am dead serious about upgrading the country. I'm dead
And
serious about keeping my party in government. We cannot allow this PNM government to come back at any time in government. We had to
never,
chase them.
never,
We had to
never.
chase them from opposition too. These people have no shame, no shame
Man,
at all.
and
Knowing that the level of damages that they've done, right, to the economy, and still had the audacity to stand up in the parliament and make accusation against my prime minister and our government.
Gary, I drove around last week, and I can tell you, boy, my heart just started to thump me when I saw two big secondary schools, about 80% complete, at least holding at least 2,000 children, massive structures in
Man,
Pinal.
they had grass growing. Remember, we saw grass growing around the school.
Boy,
The children wasn't.
they started to cut the little thing, and now you can see it from the road, boy. Oh my
But what I'm
God!
saying, some of the schools that was occupied was overgrown with grass. It was a
Well,
security issue.
these were never finished. These
Yeah,
two
I know
were.
they were never finished, but I'm saying they had the audacity to come talk to us, and they had the schools that was being utilized overgrown with grass, providing an unsafe environment for the children. The school turned on to a battleground. Look how much things we had to fix now. We're putting police in the school, and the children
And,
get so out of hand that we have
yeah,
to increase our security presence
Yeah.
there.
Gary, we had two of the worst minister of national securities in the history of Trinidad and Tobago under the PNM. The Minister of National Security, Fitzgerald Hines, in 2022, we crossed 600 plus homicides. And that record only to be broken a few months after in 2024 with 624 under this guy. What's his name? The breadfruit guy. Someone help me. Scotland, right? So we had the worst of the worst, right?
Well,
So again,
Scotland claiming that all the criminals in he constituency. I
well,
guess
and
that's what he's trying to tell us, because every time we try to take action, we attacking his constituents, right?
but,
Isn't that what he's trying to say?
yeah, he's trying to say that, and that is where they voted out so because you're stigmatizing his constituents.
Yeah.
That is
So
their
basically,
argument.
what he's admitting then that is his constituents are part of the problem in the country, and they're under his wing, and he did not take care of his constituents because he'd been there. So he forced them into him and his government forced them in a position where they had to commit crime to survive because his government failed to provide for them. They failed to provide a structure. They failed to provide the necessary support so that these people can go into a constructive way of life instead of becoming hooligans.
Well, not
Right?
only that, Gary, when they look at the statistics, these areas have the lowest education level. The
But
records,
Suman, all the spite they did to we, right? All the spite they did to we levels in the non-PNM constituencies.
yep,
We and our children came out on top,
all the time,
right?
all the time.
And now people from their constituency want to rob and kill us because they tell them that we did something wrong to them by working hard, right? Isn't that what's going on? Isn't
Yep,
that what's going on? Where they coming
exactly.
from? Where the people are coming into your constituency, the people are coming down into Central and committing all this crime. Which constituency they coming from? PNM district, right? PNM district. Why? Because they forced them children into a situation where they did not provide a good structure for them, right? That's why they're behaving like this.
well, Suma just mentioned the education level there, right?
Yeah,
Based on the
and
statistics.
yes, you look at the statistics. I saw the statistic this Friday. The poorest education level, the poorest infrastructure development, the poorest
So what,
business.
you remember we was the Copen people?
Yeah, the cowshed schools and so on.
Yeah.
Children would go to school barefoot and they're laughing at us. Oh, coconut oil in all their head, rubbing your foot. What is so bad about your parents?
Where the doctors and the engineers and the scientists coming from in the country right now?
Yeah, look at all these people who live in God City. Who do you think those people are? These are people from the countryside who went to schools, went to colleges, went to
No, no, they
institutions.
have a prime minister. Now they have a prime minister to try to put a structure in place for every race and creed to
Mhm.
benefit, and they're playing the race card. They're
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
all kind of nonsense about she, or she gonna be this, she gonna be that because she taking help from Trump, all this kind of thing. Um, the prime minister made it very clear that she maintains our sovereignty, right?
and
She made it
that's
very clear.
that.
Definitely.
And whatever
Mm.
she's doing, I mean, there were these people talking like no Caribbean country doesn't deal with the United States for their economy to survive. That they're not dependent on the
Correct.
United
So
States for the US dollar for the economy to survive. They're not
I,
dependent on the
I
United States
think
for their security.
I
Gary, you made a good
think
point
that the
there.
PNM.
That's much.
Which one are the Caribbean? Which one of CARICOM is not dependent on US revenue and US security?
Yeah, Gary also.
Our prime minister is working to improve the level of U.S. engagement. I mean, because she has to give permission. The U.S. can't invade your country just like that and say they're coming to do this. You have to request it. The support is there. It has been
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Other administration was willing to assist us. PNM refused it. Mrs. Bisesa is accepting it. She's requesting it.
You know,
We have also strengthened the bilateral dialogue with the US. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. No Trinidad and Tobago president has engaged or met or invited to the White House by US president in about 50 years,
nobody,
No prime
nobody.
minister. No
right?
prime minister. No prime minister.
In
She
fact,
was able to meet with
no,
one of the most
and
powerful
in
presidents of all time, right? The performance and what he did there to go after these drug cartels and blow them up with the
Mhm.
sea, going to Venezuela and restore democracy for the people and take this man out in a matter of a few minutes, right?
and also give us concessions in our tariff trading with the
Yes,
US.
definitely. So
And on top of that, has appointed Trinidad TNT to play the lead role in infrastructure, energy infrastructure for the rest of the Caribbean.
exactly,
So
and
see how many things we benefited from.
let us add now the 350,000 citizens of Trinidad and Tobago who
Correct.
can rest assured that their visa is not modified or restricted in any way, form or fashion, as compared to the other CARICOM or Caribbean countries,
So you
right?
see, the
So a
PNM is
lot of
shell shocked.
win-win.
They are shell shocked by the amount of deliverables UNC has been able to garner
But yet
from.
it had a racial cabal on the ground from New York, from USA to all around, working with the team on the ground, bad mouthing the lady, right? Not taking into consideration she's putting things to help every creed and race in the country to benefit.
So that's where the race comes in, Gary. That's where the
Yeah.
race comes in.
So
They
man,
always think
I
race.
ain't going to sit quiet and let this nonsense fly. Oh, the bad mouthing me too. That Indian guy in New York. Well, let me tell you something about this Indian guy in New York. This Indian guy in New York, when all your government lock out the people out of the country, stood up with every creed and race at any hour of the night or the day, they could reach me where I am and help everyone that reached out to me to get back to the country. Some needed food, some needed a top up on their phone, some needed a hotel. I mean, you name it. I had to listen to the cries, right? This Indian guy helped every creed and race. I brought the best attorney in the country to assist your family, and they didn't take up the help, right? So,
Yeah.
so
But
I mean, so they
when
could keep
when
talking about this Indian guy because this Indian guy and the Indian prime minister going to take care of every creed and race in the country and put the best infrastructure in place, best education system for everyone to
and
benefit.
and and performance at a different level, right? After she met with President Trump, Chevron called in a matter of 24 hours
and
to sit and
another
talk.
unnamed one as well. So there are two right now. In addition, I don't know if you know that company called Artemis.
Brief us on that,
Artemis,
someone.
Atermis. Artemis, a
Like,
big
like I
multinational.
told you guys the other day, right? What happened 5 minutes ago is 5 minutes ago. The thing could change in the next 5 minutes, and because more resources are coming towards us, right? So what happened 5 minutes ago, you could have a different amount of resources that's coming towards us to help us with that refinery. So there's a lot of things in store, and we just have to wait and watch and see what's happening.
But there are other
So
investments too, Gary, other type of investments as
Yeah,
well
but
she has
it's not
been
only
able to
refinery
generate.
because one, this thing is catching, it's contagious, and and what others seeing that people run into West Trinidad, right? They see Modi run down to Trinidad, right? They see Trump invite Mrs. Bisesa to the White House. What do you think happening? Do you think other people want to jump on the ship?
Well, one
he
government paid nearly 18 million TT to get a phone call with Trump.
yes,
18 million
and
TT to get a
and here it
phone
is.
call.
You had Miss Bissessa collecting the pen that signed the agreement. He personally gave it to her, not
Yeah.
one from the box, the one that he used
No-
to sign, right?
Oh, I thought that was a gold pen you're talking about.
No, the one that he signed the agreement with there.
Not a gold pen. Not a
Where you go?
goat pen.
Not a, oh yeah,
Goat.
yeah, I know got it. No, yeah, yeah. So, so man, it shows a lot of credibility and respect. And again, she made the right decision from the get-go, right? And it's paying
Yeah.
off big time for us. We have always kept an optimistic outlook.
Well,
You know,
I have a little video here. I'll go play it maybe tomorrow night. Somebody tell Rolly to tell the animals in the pen tighten the belt like how you tell we.
you know, look, the Dragon gas deal is back on because of the UNC, right?
Yep.
That
More
Dragon
than
gas
that,
deal
more
is
than
back
that, there are
on.
things that they refuse to address in the country that they only could see dragon because we have other resources that's been opened up to deal with to come into
Correct,
production.
correct. So we are going to see a boom. The country is going to experience a boom pretty soon.
Because if Artemis comes down here, they're talking about $3 to $4 billion investment. That is not put it into any oil industry. This is private enterprise. So
Definitely, Suman. So we have to continue to address the crime problem that the last government left and we inherited, right? That is not a light switch
They,
solution there.
they
You
created
know,
that problem and they nurtured it.
they
well, you
allowed it
see,
to fester. Gary,
and
they allowed it to fester.
Well,
now they want under Zoso to say, hey, you're trying to stigmatize my people. Look at the race who are being stigmatized. They're blowing it out of proportion, not even thinking one little iota that, we have 350,000 people from Trinidad whose visas are unaffected. How many of those
Definitely,
maybe of their clan, their race, who are enjoying that benefit because of the prime minister? you know. So
definitely. So the
they,
300,000,
yeah,
350,000 people should be very grateful and thankful to the Prime Minister for making the right choices,
and
right?
she didn't only do that for the UNC
You
supporters.
know, for everyone, all citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, right? Regardless of your party
All.
affiliation and whatnot, if you're holding a US visa, right, and you travel to the US, thank God that the Honorable
Is
Prime Minister made the right choice,
correct,
right?
correct. That is the way.
And now
That
you
is
are
the way.
benefiting. You might not think about it that way, but you are benefiting, right?
That is the way.
Because
And
there's
she
no
gave
restrictions, there's no modifications
the
like the
same
rest of the
thing.
CARICOM.
The same thing she did with the computer, the laptops. Everybody, but you could afford it, all students, all
And
because she see the benefit that when these students are of age to vote, they will know exactly how to cast their vote. And these students will be so knowledgeable at that time, 5 years or 6 years, or whenever they
so,
reach the voting age, they would have been able to see and rationalize and compare the UNC with the PNM and who did things for us, who paid for our transport free of cost, books and uniform grant free of cost, additional schooling for those that troubled kids, MIC centers and so on. They will be able to judge, because the social media now is no longer restricted to the newspaper. It's on the spot. They hear it,
Sumar,
Yeah.
we are at an age and time where every household, every person has a computer, right? And the tool that they incorporated in that laptop, which is an AI learning tool,
Yes, yes.
will help and assist students who are not grasping things right away in the classroom, right?
Yes.
They could now go home and use that AI tool, right, to help with their homework, to help with their research.
Correct.
So again, the UNC government has that vision. Education is very, very important to the citizens and to the greater masses, right? To alleviate yourself and break the cycle of poverty and so forth. You could take away everything from a person, but you can't take away what's in their mind and their education. So definitely a great initiative there to restart what they started in their first term, and the PNM scrapped it, which is the laptop program. Is the kids are very privileged to now have their laptop now, even with a more enhanced, with an AI learning tool in it.
That
So,
means
elaborate a little more on that AI learning tool there for me, please.
no, what up the AI? No, people like me, you, Gary, each of us learn in our different ways. So Gary always admitted he's a slow learner. I may be in between. You may be a fast learner. But Gary may not be able to grasp what is a quadratic equation in the classroom. I may have only be able to grasp half. You may have grasped all of it. But when Gary goes home, he has what's called a personal tutor on his computer. Hey, tutor, can you help me with solving the problem we had in class today, this quadratic equation? Do it in a step-by-step format for me. I did not understand it in class today. And here is it. He teaches him the methodology on how to understand quadratic equations. So in other words, Gary becomes, at the end of one day or 2 days, at the end of the week, Gary is just as bright as me and you and everybody else. Yet he could not have understood it in class the day it was taught. So this levels the playing field. I always say that. It's the great equalizer. It gives every student the equal chance of succeeding at the highest level. And that is the purpose of this AI, software in the school curriculum, because it assists everybody equally.
Most of us, we have a system alone, and the teacher come and write so fast on the board, right? And by the
Exactly.
time you finish, you ain't get a copy half of it, they don't erase it. And why was that allowed for?
But remember, Gary, half of the students can't see properly who's sitting from midway in the class to the back.
No, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about
No, they have eye issues as well. These things are never
but
considered.
what I'm saying to you is they had a system there where the teacher come and write so fast, and who learn and who don't learn, they don't care. They just write and erase, right? We had a science teacher in particular, So I mean, you have nothing to reflect on.
That's
right? Now in today's technology, we have things that you could go back and recheck, and you could even get a YouTube video if you have a question, and you could pull it up.
Gary, you have a teacher at home. This is the point.
I'm just saying, but there's so much things available now. But I mean, this thing was allowed to continue for years, just letting people just kind of go through the system, not properly helping them in the way. I mean, look, my parents paid for after lessons, and they go there, and they have about 60 children in the classroom, and this teacher doing the same damn thing again.
Yeah. That's correct. But think of it. Think of how this has equalized everything. So there's no more bright boys and bright girls. Everybody's either bright. No.
It has enhanced learning at the next level.
Enhanced learning at all levels. So you imagine when these students now come out of school, let's say at age 18 or 19, and then they go to university, some of them enter the world of work. Who do you think they will thank for giving them this opportunity, which they would never have seen under the PNM? So this is
We
a
have to
good
thank the
selling point.
UNC government for that.
Yes, this
Right.
is a good selling point for the UNC.
And also
kudos
here, the
to
Minister
our
of
Minister of
Education is saying that the expelled students who misbehave basically in the schools, they're going to put things in place and they're not abandoned. You understand?
No, they're putting them into work at MIC and study there and so on until they kind of reorganize themselves and they'll be reabsorbed back into the school.
And they will get the necessary assistance. So
Yes.
you have
And
a
that-
government here that is going, and one of the things I also mentioned is that the after school program we want to get going, where people can walk and go to school like how they do it in the US here, and enhance themselves. They could go back to school and take one class at a time, 2 classes at a time, or whatever it is,
Mhm.
Definitely.
So good.
And you see, Gary, this is very important for those troubled students to not just have them, reprimanded and thrown out of the system. And what's going to happen?
Well,
they're going
the
to
thing
go
about
into
it, I mean, listen, children just act up for various reasons, right? We don't know why they're acting up, but the thing about it is here, we have to control what's happening in the school system. We can't allow people to feel that they can conduct themselves, and we need the resources in place to contain the situation that nobody gets sued. I've watched some of these security people there, and they're just kind of lame in addressing the 2 students or 5 students fighting. You have to intercept them quickly, separate them, and don't hold them like you're begging them to stop. You have to disable the situation there and separate them, and then deal with the how to say the I forgot the name of the word right now, but anyway, go ahead, guys.
Yeah, so they have a follow-up plan, right, where these students can now, as Sumad mentioned, go to the vocational programs, etc., where they can fit in, right, and they're not best abandoned, right, as I'm using the word from the article there, where they now become prone to criminal activities and get involved in criminal,
Yeah,
in crime.
become
right?
hard criminals over time.
Yes. So we are breaking that cycle of school to prison,
Yeah.
right? That's school to
Yeah, I'm
prison
I'm
approach.
talking about the counseling part. The where you counsel the children and things like that. But what I'm saying to you is because they are allowed to do these things, this has become a culture where nobody could stop them. They're doing these things, and we have to start nipping things in early. As things happen when the children are younger, you have to deal with it, and you
Yeah.
have to provide.
Definitely,
You have to
definitely.
provide enough
Counseling,
force there,
etc.
so that they have to reconsider their actions. And even we forget with the criminal outside, we have to provide enough force there that within your community to show that they have to reconsider their decision. These are
Correct.
the measures.
You said a good word there, Gary, community, because the only way you can determine that is if you got the data. Which schools are the errant schools, for example?
But listen, we have to go across the board. I mean, there's some that would have.
No,
We know that some
no,
schools.
you have to identify where the community.
You're focusing on the problem school first, yes. And then this will be offensive to some people because we are addressing the issue because
No,
they
it's-
allow the situation to become where it was there.
Yeah, see, so this is what. So you have to get the data, man. Don't be scared of the data. Get the data, see what the problems go, see the communities. where
Man, them fellas don't want the data. They don't want the data out there.
We have
because
to do that.
it exposing their incompetence. So we have
So
to proceed. We have to proceed with full force.
Yeah, no, you
Yeah,
make.
yeah. Gary made a good point there.
You have
Let's
to
expose the incompetence.
Look at this here. Look for a second here.
You know what I know? No. What I am aware of is that drug money, finance policy law. I am aware. Drug money, finance. Can I speak still? Can I be allowed to speak?
Yes, can we get some silence? Stop arguing across the corridor, Diego Martin Northeast.
I don't want to see it. You know what I will tell you? I am aware, and we now have lists, remember? Homeland Security have lists. Okay, I'll send you the list. Maybe your name is on this. What I'm aware of is drug money financed Balaji House.
So, gentlemen,
That was the,
you see why we have a problem, and you see why we have the problem we have. Look at
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys. So
Mommy nice boys, man. Mommy nice boys.
yeah. So, but anyway, listen, we will continue tomorrow night. You guys available tomorrow night? Let me know. I'll check with
Definitely,
you.
we will make an effort
Yeah,
to
yeah.
continue the
Let's see.
conversation.
Yeah, there's a few things we had to cover. So, with that, I will say good night.
All right.
And you guys have any last word you want to add up to?
No, very, very informative and nice discussion this evening.
Yeah.
We see
There's
a lot of things happening. The last session of Parliament on Friday, where the Prime Minister laid out the funding for Bali J House, where it was mostly drug money. It was very interesting for me. Also, something which Devish was speaking about when he criticized the committee that oversaw the payments of the drugs, meaning medicinal drugs, where one entrepreneur was favored over the other two, the Scott Company, and they were collected 50 million in payment, while the other two got zero as part of the payment process. When
So
all
what?
three,
I think we have a lot of expired drugs and a lot of other issues to deal with too. You know.
well, that is, they're trying to clean that up right now. I mean, that right now, as we speak, a lot of expired drugs, but a lot of new drugs as well in the force under the CDAP program. So it's in a state of
Yeah,
transition.
the minister, I know, improved the quality of the drugs too, right? So,
Yeah, the quality and also the sourcing and the availability, Gary. I must tell you, the availability. There's no shortage of drugs in the market. CDAP drugs, that is, for more, some of the more, like diabetes and heart disease and high blood pressure and so strokes and what have you. There's no shortage of these drugs.
and
So
I want to make sure we improving the hours of service in these health centers. That we need to work on. So we would have to check and see how that is working out.
there are lots of other things. Remember, health encompasses, probably the most amount of systems in place, from ambulances to
Yeah. Well,
doctors.
we have from A to Z to fix, because everything turned upside down with one
Everything,
little thing in it.
everything,
Yeah.
and exactly what Dr. Ramum said. That the what he didn't say, but I can tell you in business, the metrics we have to measure, the metrics and the KPI, the key performance indicators, and the metrics will tell us a lot. And apparently, very few doctors are trained in this field. So this is more management field. Very few CEOs knows about it, their dashboards and whiteboards and so on. So there's a whole new training, a whole new set of challenges have to be sorted out. I mean, they may give their friends and families certain positions, but they still have to be trained. And who is doing the training? So there's a lot of work has to be done to make it more efficient. The delivery of services, that is, more efficient. Yeah.
All right, guys. Good night. We'll talk tomorrow.
Good night, guys. So tomorrow we'll pick it up. Have a good night, all.
All right.
Take care. Thanks.
Okay.
I think we are all seeing right now the threat that this clerical regime poses to the region and to the world. They are trying to hold the world hostage. They are attacking their neighbors. They are attacking neighboring countries, their energy infrastructure, their civilian population. They're attacking embassies. This is a terrorist government. This is a terroristic regime. And we are seeing them conduct terrorism using nation-state elements, using weapons like missiles and one-way attack drones. And the objective of this mission is to destroy their ability to continue to do that. And we are well on our way to achieving that objective every single day with overwhelming force, with overwhelming precision.
143 operations, 373 persons arrested, 66 persons charged, 39 persons for preventative detention orders, 16 of these orders approved, 18 firearms recovered, 949 ammunition recovered, 720 grams of cocaine, 230.585 kilograms of marijuana, 88 cannabis trees, and 1.545 grams of ecstasy. In closing, the safety of the people of Trinidad and Tobago remains our highest priority. We will continue to apply intelligence-driven enforcement strategies while maintaining the professionalism and lawful conduct expected of this organization. I wish to thank members of the public for their cooperation and commend the men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service who continue to serve with dedication and courage during this operational period. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service will remain vigilant, coordinated, and resolute in our efforts to restore and maintain public safety across Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you.
We anticipate we move from where we are now to that. And part two of my question from Ms. Alexander, could you explain a little more why itemizing the cost is a breach of national security? How is that a breach of national security?
Let me, you know, while it's Jensen's name, right?
Yes, sir.
Jensen, while your question seems to be very entertaining, we are here to treat it as an issue where we are making our country better. And sometimes I think you do not contribute along those lines. However,
could you explain
what I can say is this. What I can say is this thing. You too will benefit from this great project. This initiative will benefit you when you have to travel to and fro and anywhere you go. All right? Any questions again?
And the cost?
Pardon me?
The cost. You didn't mention the
But
cost.
we have answered that already, Jensen. You come back with the same old thing.
So why saying the cost is a breach of national security?
Why say that? That's your headline for tomorrow? I don't know, I'm just asking. If it is, all I can tell you is this. We intend to keep things along a certain line until it is necessary that we reveal it. Okay?
Gentlemen, I will just say that anything related to costs, there's no secret in it.
Exactly.
There's a level of transparency and accountability across this government that hasn't been seen in a very long time. So I think what Minister is trying to reveal to you is that the concentration here is really on the net benefit and reward of the system. You know, so I think the focus really needs to be on that. But I mean, related to the cost, it's the government's responsibility to get value for money, work with partners who have a reputation that can withstand scrutiny. I think you should also inquire in terms of the CARICOM impacts on the work that they have done. They're best in class in terms of the Caribbean, and so by extension, the question related to cost can also be attributed to this is a vendor that is trusted across many CARICOM countries. So let's move away from the politics of this, and let's focus on what the real benefit is. All of us are net partakers in this. This is something of national pride, I believe, and all citizens will benefit. So let's focus on what really matters, making the lives of citizens easier.
So as we mentioned, we started in the
So with these joint partnerships with the US, it may in fact erode the sovereignty of So with these joint